I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending January the 6th, 2012. We come into an all new year and the buyers come out full of optimism and a pocket full of orders. Calves compared to 3 weeks ago, really, before the 2 holiday weeks there, but compared to the last full week of business before the holidays, calves sold $5 to $10 higher. I mean, all across the country, in the southeast, the northern plains, the southern plains, the mountains, everywhere. $5 to $10 higher in the bulk of sales, up to $15 higher routinely on calves weighing under 500 pounds, both steers and heifers both. Now your heavier feeder cattle, calves and yearlings weighing over 700 pounds sold firm to $5 higher, and many instances up to $7 higher, especially on your heifers, with a lot of competition from replacement quality heifer buyers running the market up on them. And as a whole this week, your heifers probably gain more ground than your steers in most instances, as guys are just looking for ways to cheapen up somehow, but they still want them awful badly, and your steer heifer spread has tightened up considerably. But most all your markets are back open for business this week, your auction markets, except for some of those Monday markets that were still closed there right after the New Year's Day, including Oklahoma National Stockyards, as Oak City did. They were closed for 2 weeks, and they opted to go the later 2 weeks rather than the early, so they won't be back to business until next week. But most areas by Tuesday anyway were full scale back up to business. The weather has been absolutely outstanding across the bulk of the nation this winter, really all along, but this week especially, just unseasonably warm weather. In Des Moines, Iowa, it's 64 degrees. Here in Kansas City it was 64.5 degrees, just all the way through. Had some high winds early in the week, especially out there in Kansas, over 60 miles per hour. But really this dry weather, which we hate to say dry after so much of the country was in the drought, but they did have some rains and some snow there right before the holidays, and even they're enjoying the dry weather now, and but just not that bitter cold that we see a lot of times this time of year. But your buyers just extremely aggressive. There's no superlatives left for how aggressive these buyers are, how good the market is. Buyers just staying right in until the last one goes through the ring, and putting cattle on their orders that normally they just turn their nose up at, and they just want them. They just want them. They want possession of these cattle. They've got orders. They're putting off. They've got more people that want cattle, and people beside that would take some cattle if they called them. But and it's all happening in the auctions. Direct trade is extremely slow right now. The country buyers can't keep up with the auction prices. The market's just moving up too fast. And a guy that normally sells cattle in the country right off the farm, he can't ask enough for his cattle, because by the time they get them showed and get the deal done, he's behind the market. So just the sale barns, your sale barns typically get a higher percentage of the cattle when the market is really good or when it's really bad. In that case, buyers are just hoping that by chance they bring more than they're worth. But right now the market is really good, and these sale barns are cashing in, with a lot of them charging commission on the percentage wise, and that is making a good business for these auction owners, and they really need it, because there's less cattle around. They're sold a lot of cows in the last year or two. That means less calves down the road, and more expenses for them. But your auctions are really doing well, and you need that kind of competition to realize what this market potential can really be. We expect big runs next week because of the ideal weather, because the holidays are fully behind us, and because in the western plains there, even in midpoints of Nebraska and Kansas to the west, and especially getting into Wyoming and Colorado, they're having those stock show specials that they always have, which coincide with the National Western in Denver, which is going on. including the bell ringer Superior video that's going to be going on too. But a lot of cattle will be marketed next week, right after this giant upswing to open the new year. Fat cattle sold $1 lower this week, from $1.20 to $1.22. A little bit cheaper on the fats, but sure not on the feeder cattle. You know, all these lightweight steers are getting up there towards $2 a pound. We still haven't seen the big run, a sizable run, offering, group, load, or whatever, of steers weighing over 500 pounds bring $2 a pound. When we hit that, a lot of us that forecasted that will breathe a sigh of relief that we're not responsible for that anymore. But that $2 a pound is coming. Once we break the $2 a pound on 5-weight steers, you know, sky's the limit. Then after that, there's no natural barrier there to find resistance. But it's just crazy. You know, several places in Nebraska this week we had steers weighing over 500 pounds up in the high 90s, but everybody just sees that $2 a pound coming. That means $1,000 for a 500-pound steer. Nobody's quite jumped into that yet, but they're right there, right close. Replacement heifers at Ogallala, Nebraska, some prices there. They had over 200 head replacement quality heifers being kept, weighing 618 at $1.9465. A lot of competition on them. You know, you had one group there at Ogallala on Thursday, just 32 heifers. A lot of you probably heard about them. Weighed 530 pounds. They were red Angus heifers, had the ability to be registered. Just went beyond the market, beyond the realm of really, you know, what you're in this for. But, you know, bringing $1,550 a head for a 530-pound heifer, you know, you can easily buy a 1,200 pound third stage guaranteed bred heifer that's going to calve, you know, early next spring there for that. But it's just, it's what the ability of this market has to do. Guys want them, and when they get together, there's no telling what might happen. This cash fat cattle market, I wanted to say here, did come back with some results from 2011. These fat cattle are not high because these feedlots are driving such a hard bargain. There's less and less leverage all the time. Cash negotiated sales in the 5-area feeding region over 2011 accounted for less than 37% of the business. So you've got the tail wagging the dog here. You've got you know, nearly 65% of the business being done off of what that smaller portion brought. And that is just gaining all the time. It's just 5 years ago, over 50% of the business was done on cash, and nothing now. Texas is down to less than 20% cash. Iowa by far the most, with over 70% cash sales. And you've got to have some cash sales if you're going to have any leverage in the market, especially when times get hard. Regional weighted averages this week. North Central states this week, 6-weight steer cost you $158.44. Last week $155.13. Year ago $134.49. South Central states, a 6-weight steer cost you $153.61 compared to $146.11 last week. $126.28 a year ago. Down in the Southeast, 6-weight steer again, $136.51 this week compared to $127.68 last week. $117.32 a year ago this week. For more market information, or to check some of these high prices in black and white, or have proof to take to your banker or to the coffee shop, check out our website, marketnews.usda.gov. From the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.